couldn't get the party.
If you'd like to join us. Dear Heavenly Precious Father, we thank you for the opportunity to join here today to serve the citizens of this county. May every decision we make benefit the most, if not every single citizen that calls Nicholas County home. In your holy and precious name we do pray.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. We'll call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Nicholas County Commission on Wednesday, July 14th of the year 2021 to order. One of you gentlemen would like to get started there.
Okay, upon review of the commission minutes of June the 2nd and June the 16th of this year, I motion to approve those.
Motion's on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, the motion does carry.
Upon review of the exonerations as presented by the Nicholas County Assessor, move to approve accordingly.
Motion's on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against, the motion does carry.
Upon review of the state of fiduciaries matters as presented by the Nicholas County Clerk, move to approve accordingly unless otherwise noted.
Motion's on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against, the motion does carry.
Upon submission of the budget revisions received from the elected officials and department heads, the commission will take appropriate action as deemed necessary.
That motion is on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against, the motion does carry.
Upon submission of budget revisions received from elected officials and department heads, the commission will take appropriate action as deemed necessary.
Motion's on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against, the motion does carry. Does anyone have anyone for the Nicholas County E911 Advisory Board? I do not this time. We'll take a quick break there. Hey, Julie. Are you on? Okay, we're here now at the bid opening for the demolition and debris cleanup for the E911 properties. This is the Ponteri, McClung, and Vance properties we talked about for, it feels like 10 years now. The city's got a lot of complaints. We've got a lot of complaints too, just, the property's growing up and everything else. So thankfully we got to the point where we're at this now. We had a pre-mandatory meeting that Holcomb Excavation showed up to, GR Carr, Walt Bales with Tom Bales Contracting, and Mr. Jeremy Collins with Alpha. And we actually have a bid from all four this morning. We want to go ahead and go alphabetical just to keep it. Open them and let's look at them, and then I can announce the numbers and all that. There you And of course, we went through all the legal publications and all that before we got to this point. So we did do our due diligence on that. Save all that for Okay, we have Alpha Construction of Summersville, West Virginia. Scope of work and everything's here. You know what page your amounts at? What's
So
the-
the bottom.
First page.
Oh, okay, yes. For a total of $48,770. Thomas Bell's Contracting Company, Inc. With proper description and an amount of $23,000 even. GR Car Excavation, Inc. You got everything that we had there, and it's at a amount of $21,300. And then Holcomb Excavating and Construction. They have everything at an amount of $18,379. Craig, what do you think of all that? I hate to pick on you, you're the one that knows most.
They're all spelling everything out just like we asked.
Is that automatically awarded to the low bidder? I didn't
No,
notice
it's up to
that.
our discretion, yeah. I mean, they're all exactly the same in reality, other than the dollar figure. And we need to make a vote today.
No, you don't have to.
We don't have to. We can, but we don't have
What do you think? You're the boss.
to. I'm the meeting holder. No, I mean, I agree. I think they're all the same. I mean, they all spell out what we told them to spell out, so. Can we executive this?
Let's do that.
Can?
Yes.
Let's executive session that real quick. Then we'll try and do something.
You want to do it at the end? Or you want to do it right now?
Because the next appointment canceled.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Do I hear a motion to convene into executive session pursuant to West Virginia Code 6-9A-4?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Motion's on the floor. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against, the motion does carry, and we are in executive session as of 9:27 a.m. Sit on. All right. Need a motion to exit executive session pursuant to West Virginia Code 6-9A-4.
I make that motion, and we'll also note that there was no decision made in executive session.
Okay. The motion's on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carried at 9:35 a.m. Of course, we have the 4 bids in front of us. Had a few technical complications we needed to work through there, but anyways. It'd be my recommendation that we approve a bid conditional upon the execution of a full contract between the Nicholas County Commission and that company. Just laying out specifically 100%, what we're looking for. We have those lists, and they were told at the pre-bid meeting. So, that being said.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we use the Holcomb Excavating.
Thank you.
We'll award that contract.
And we'll make it the way you said it, where you want it to be able to mow,
Okay.
and all the garbage out until it's home and gone.
And you'll work with them on the he'll work with us and get the contract together.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Write down your
This is
name,
our legal
phone number,
counsel.
and
Okay.
address, please. Give it to me.
So while they work on that, and again, just conditional upon the executed contract, and that contract will become effective on August 1st. Okay.
And due to this, I have a conflict with this, so we'll have to abstain.
Okay. So Commissioner Atkins, this motion's on the floor. All those eligible in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those against? All those abstain? Motion does carry. So, we'll get to working on the contract, and like I said, Mr. Bischoff there
Thank you.
will be a resource for that. We can get it going.
Okay.
That being said, we'll take another break.
And I want.
Okay, we're here now with Ms. Robin Brown, the Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center, with a request of financial support. So Ms. Brown, the floor is yours.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
As Commissioner Cole stated, my name is Robin Brown, and I'm the Executive Director of the Nicholas County Family Resource Network, and the Children's Advocacy Center is one of the programs that we operate. I'm coming before you to request funding to support some of the families that we serve at the Children's Advocacy Center. You're welcome. We receive funding currently from the West Virginia Division of Community Services, and we have two separate grants. The Children's Advocacy Center grant this year is funded at $93,182, and the Victims of Crime Act grant is funded at $113,879. That grant currently runs until the end of September, and we don't know what future funding is for that grant at this time. I outlined in the paper that I've given you some of the things that we use the funding for, primarily the personnel, office costs, rent, utilities, things of that nature. And many of the families that we serve find themselves in positions where they are not going back to the home they had yesterday. The potential alleged offender maybe owned the home or was the primary financial resource for that family, and the family finds themselves out that next day. So we often we try to provide financial support to them in the form of rent for that month, utility bills to get set up, clothing, coats for kids, boots, we bought beds. And so I'm coming before you today to request that the County Commission support those efforts to support the families that we do serve. We see over 200 children annually in Nicholas County. This year those numbers are down just due to COVID, but in the past several years the numbers have increased. I believe in 2019 our numbers were like 234 for the year. It's a sad resource, but I'm happy that we're able to provide that for our kids. And if you guys have questions, I'll be happy to answer.
I noted in your letter that at the end of the letter that the commission had previously
Yes,
donated,
the funding
gave money to you.
in years past, and I would say going back to maybe 2009, Patty probably could pull it, or I could have pulled it myself. Going back to 2009, the County Commission used to fund the 20% match for our Children's Advocacy Center grant. When we received the Victims of Crime Act grant, we were able to use each of those funding sources to offset that match, so we didn't require the match. And that was at a time when the County Commission found themselves in a position where funding wasn't quite as readily available, and so we had not asked for any support since that time.
So you have the funding for the one through,
Absolutely, we've already received that funding. Our Victims of Crime Act grant, we should hear back before September 30th, I'm hopeful, but often we don't hear about it until the next fiscal year for them.
Where are you located?
Down in the Masonic Lodge building here just beside the Day Report Center, we have one half of the building and the Travel Mountain Tanning has the other half.
What's your rental?
500. And that's through the Masonic Lodge. They've been very good to us there.
So you basically get around 200, a little over $200,000. The $10,000, is that to add additional services, or do you need that to make up
It really is to support the families that we
Supplies and
serve.
materials.
The things that I've outlined, the clothes, the bedding, the rent, the utilities, things that we can't put in a grant. We don't get those things funded through a grant.
Thank
The
you.
year before last, the tractor bar gave us a grant for $3,000, and that offset some of those costs.
Do you get some of the clothing and things like that from like the New Beginnings Resource Center?
We offer that to the family as a resource, but if they say, this 7-year-old does not have boots, then we go buy boots. We order boots and have them sent to them. We have a partnership with Walmart, and they give us donated items, but you never know what size you're going to get. You may get 40 t-shirts, but they may all be extra large. So they don't always fit the families that we serve.
Did Leslie Mateer used to work there?
She did for the Kim Sterling's position is what she worked
Gotcha.
at.
So in relation to COVID-19, I mean, I know you mentioned the numbers kind of dropped off, but do you anticipate things that once the kids get back into school more fully and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
A lot of things are probably going to surface that you're going to have to be dealing with at that time.
Sure.
Yeah. That's
Like
kind
I
of what I'm
said,
thinking too.
in the past 10 years, it has gone up 15 to 20% every year over the past 10 years, the number of kids that we've seen. We started over 20 years ago, and maybe there were 30 cases at that time.
Wow.
But the Children's Advocacy Center Act in the state was somewhat new at that time. There's a lot of statewide leadership now and a lot more programs across the state and resources for each individual CAC that way.
What I might recommend is we consider doing 5 when they come back, I don't know, towards the end of the year, after you maybe hear about your grant,
Sure.
good or bad, for consideration of the other. And I mean, I can see where COVID exposed a lot and covered up a lot. And so, in my opinion, I think they're gonna find a lot more than not that they, are gonna have to be catching up on. And so I think this is it could be considered a COVID-related expense, considering the timing. We take it out of the CARES fund. Just a consideration.
I agree with the 5,000, and we'll see what funding comes through.
Sure.
Because, we may actually end up paying more. We don't
Well,
have
that,
that.
the tractor bars, they're starting back up. I understand, so they may have some money for it.
Maybe they can match our 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate any support the commission can offer. It definitely benefits families.
Whatever's fine with
Okay,
you
I'll
boys.
go ahead and make the motion that we give you $5,000 per use. And I think our children are our most valuable assets we have in the county.
Great.
And
I appreciate it very much, gentlemen. Thank you for your time.
Can I
If you
request a
have further
clarification?
questions.
The funding coming from CARES, or if you want to go somewhere else?
I would say start out at CARES. If there's a restriction, we can't do that. We just have to find it.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that motion's on the floor. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against, the motion does carry. So
Thank you, each and every
We'll get
one.
that put
And if you have any
together.
further questions, just give us a call.
just make sure she has your mailing
Is that a good
contact.
address?
It is, yes.
Okay.
It is.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it very much.
We're gonna take another
See you,
break.
Patty.
See ya.
Any other requirements that you guys want to?
Okay, we have now at the request of Commissioner Chapman, consideration of rehabilitation nonprofits. I actually requested this to be on. That was a little bit of an error on my part, but I mean, I think we're all generally for it, but anyways.
I think what we're dealing with here is we got a lot of these nonprofits that deal with the sobriety and things like that were hurt through the COVID with their fundraisers and things. And I think we should make available some money that's specific. There's one in Craigsville,
Reach Up Recovery.
Reach Up Recovery, that is asking for a request. So I'd like to make a motion to give them $2,500, providing the evidence of a 501c, or 501c paperwork, and other affiliations, nonprofits that deal with this things, especially the ones that work with the drug courts and things like that. That we make some funds available for them too, but specifically right now is Reach Up Recovery, and I would recommend giving $2,500 for CARES.
Okay. Any other discussion?
And that they provide our office with addresses and
Yeah, full contact information. Absolutely. And the 501(c)(3).
Commissioner Cole, I just have something to say. I would suggest to the commission that these groups just provide their West Virginia Secretary of State business organization entry document page, and they can just submit that. That has addresses and their status and everything else on it.
Yeah.
That on top of the 501(c). Okay. Okay, that motion's on the floor. Is there any other discussion to be had? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against, the motion does carry. We'll take another. Okay, at my request, I had two things. It was a consideration of walls that we need to construct at probation at the Day Report Center. Commissioner Chapman reminded me, seeing that on the agenda, that they do have a meeting, and so he's going to discuss that further with them before we ever make any decisions on that, and I appreciate that. And then also I have on here the contribution to the airport. I think that we just needed to get it, revisited to make sure we're leaving the airport financially sound. Of course, we have Commissioner Atkins as the chairman of the board, and then also Mr. LaRoche on the board. It's always been my understanding that going into the agreement with Yeager, it was pending on the city contributing 50 and us contributing 100. Towards that, giving Yeager 1 year to turn us around, or we'll see what happens then. And so I'd like for that to be considered and discussed here, and a decision.
Well, we already signed the agreement, basically it's a year now.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And certainly the airport is going to need some money. Okay. And I do know the city is also obligated money for this down the road.
Now the city's already contributed 50 and 50 more.
Well, they're considering.
Considered 50 more.
Anyway, we'll have our next meeting next Wednesday here. Okay, and that will be with Yeager here. Okay, and I think that's probably our best time to sit down and look at that monetarily with them. And we've got some other money, like I said, that's coming in, and look at those uses. And of course, we have the building that's being T-Hanger, right? Okay, I think we're going to have to help that some to get that finished because it came out of the budget. Okay, although we still got that as a stable.
Right.
Because the Yeager, they looked at getting it moved for $500,000. We got that for much less. Okay. It is going to need some more money. I would hope we've already approved the contract for 18 months. But anything else, wait till after our next meeting.
Hey, Lloyd, we signed that contract June 14th,
Yeah.
and we got payments that we gotta make.
I was going to say that payment.
We need, but it's
gonna be 2 weeks again before you all meet, so we need to get something done before then.
No, yeah.
I mean, we've been promised this money and we need to get, the airport authority needs it right now.
Well, I agree on that, which is why I said that we'd already signed the contract to do that, so.
How much is a 1 month payment to get us through to the next meeting?
It's 10,000, 12,000.
Yeah, but that's not gonna do it. I mean, are you gonna do it or not do it? We've been talking about this for 4 months.
However, there is money in the account.
Yeah, boy, that money's already been spent for the T hangar.
Okay.
We're gonna pay, we're short, we're paying, Mike Dell.
Well, we can do the obligation for right now for what it takes for our part on this for this coming month. Okay, until we get the rest of the,
Rest of what?
rest of the
Rest of what?
information on what we need. And we're gonna
We'll
look
get
at
in the last meeting. on
I
that.
know, we're gonna have a budget meeting too. The budget's gonna be in this next week. Okay?
I thought you knew what the budget's gonna be.
On that. But I've only seen a copy of it once. Okay?
Well, if we go ahead and do a quarter.
Well, I was thinking we were going
Do it
to
half a
do it
year.
in 2 payments. So,
We can do that.
I mean, I think we ought to go ahead, for right now, do 50. And then just get it to them because they need it right now.
That cover
That's fine.
Is that okay?
a quarter, almost 2 quarters.
Yeah. That's fine.
And to be noted, we usually get like $30,000 a quarter in the economic development, and this last time we got like 114.
Okay.
So I mean, we got a random surge in funding, that's one-time funding, and that's where, you know, that made me comfortable with 100.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, if we're going to do it, and if we're going to mention, maybe we'll get rid of it.
Yeah.
Take it out of the economic development, that would be all.
Like I said, we did get that surge. I mean, if we had only gotten 30,000, I'd be a little concerned.
Yeah.
But we're used to getting 30 and 25, and we got 114.
Because I was thinking we were going to take it, we'll do this before and take half out of last year's budget, and half out of this year's. But we've already missed
We just
last
didn't get it done.
year. Yeah, so we might as well just throw it on there.
I'm telling you, the airport needs, we're on the verge of really turning the airport around. And they get Clemson and a negotiation with to buy the gas tank. And we'll have to need some money for that. We need some money to finish the T hangar.
Okay.
I wish I would have brought my folder on the airport. But we've been going over at the airport for it.
Has the city put up any yet?
Yeah, the city's been putting money up for the last year and a half, and they,
Okay, I'm just making a motion to take out economic funds, the 100,000, and just secure money. And we'll.
Give them a year and a half to prove
We'll
themselves.
not give them any more money until, at least the 22, 23.
Well, the airport, so you're talking about money for the Jaeger.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, that motion's on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, the motion does carry. So we'll get that together hopefully the next few days.
Okay.
I
Appreciate
want to thank
you
you guys and the guys on the board. Thank you too.
Running a few minutes behind here, so if you're okay, we'll go ahead and just jump right into the next one. We have Miss Mary Jane Williams with the, how do you say that? Mondres, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Building, business generator and the Richwood Building, for the Richwood Building Commission with a financial assistance in purchasing and installing a new heating and air unit for the Richwood Heritage Center. So the floor is yours.
I've actually put together some things for you. And I was going to get you some nice color copies, but my color copier decided otherwise. So I do have a copy of the pictures in here that I'm going to talk about. The before pictures, and I have after pictures, but the after pictures are showing blue where there's no blue on the color, so this one's for you.
Yeah, I'll pass it down.
Okay. So I'm going to read what I have here because I have nothing to say. But since January of 2015, I've written and acquired grants to convert the Mondreas building on Main Street into the Mill Whistle Arts and Ridgewood Heritage Center, business incubator. The building was formerly owned by Chris and Rose Mondreas, who were patrons of many of the activities I sponsored on Main Street through the chamber, such as music concerts, Grandparents' Day, Cherry River Festival races, etc. And they donated the building with a stipulation that it would support these activities on Main Street and the eventual opening of the Artisan Co-op and Heritage Center. The structure currently provides for 2 to 3 business spots where new businesses can get their start for a low rent, which has gradually increased over time. The businesses pay their own utilities and the rent is used to pay the utilities for the Mill Whistle Arts and Ridgewood Heritage Center, making it sustainable as a heritage center. The building was in disrepair in 2015, as you saw by the first collection of photos. We didn't know that the roof was in such bad shape at the time, but it had to be raised 8 to 12 inches. And while that looked really pretty and we thought of maybe exposing the beams, we didn't. We closed it off for heat purposes. We had to tear out the back offices that were in that building, and that's what you have a lot of those pictures are, and we had to pull everything off the walls. And everything, even the floor had to be fixed because it had an uneven spot. And then I wrote and acquired 3 major grants from the Collins Foundation, and together with smaller grants from different organizations, totaling about $100,000, and a lot of volunteer help, we were able to have the building renovated. I did not take any money from the grant. As a grant administrator, I just administered the grant and I did a little bit of the work myself. I also acquired $16,000 from other grants from the West Virginia Humanities Council. We have 2 grants that we're using this year to be able to have exhibits, and we've had exhibits starting in June and going all the way through November at the Heritage Center. The Mill Whistle Arts is an artisan co-op, and we have 21 artisans who sell locally made items, many of which are related to the timber industry. The Mill Whistle Arts shares the building and supports the Heritage Center through the income. And so the new pictures you got were all the pictures of how we have shared the building. So we do have, this is actually the artist, this is the yoga studio. This is without the blue streaks, it's just a beige color. That's the front of our Mill Whistle Arts and Heritage Center. And then the interior, you can see we have Heritage Center exhibits mixed in with the artisan information. And the wood on the walls is all native wood to the area. So it's a continuously growing Heritage Center because the exhibits will continue to change over time. We're doing a lumber one, and that's the last one I put in there. And that is a 59-inch circular saw that Mark Spencer painted 5 scenes on. And it looks like photographs, they're so accurate. And so that saw is going to be lifted up by 2 really strong men because it's extremely heavy and mounted on the wall. It's huge. My husband and I went to move and I'm worthless. I'm like, so I couldn't get to move. But in the ramp, there's a lot of different exhibits going on there now. But when we had our presentations this summer, it was extremely hot in there, and then you have more people and it gets even more so. And it's going to affect the artifacts that are in there and the things that are on the wall, things we're doing for the Heritage Center. The theme for our Heritage Center is the community of Ridgewood and its strong sense of unity was shaped by its location in the forest. Our last repair renovation then is to upgrade the heating and cooling system. And I was actually asking for all 3 storefronts if possible. I think mine is quoted at about $8,000 or $9,000. And we think that we can do the others for with those mini splits. I didn't call them split rail, but the mini split units, 1 in each one, and then that way it'll cool down those buildings as well. The yoga studio, which I attend, it gets really hot in there without any, they open the back door and it's still really hot in there. And it's just going to help those businesses perform even better. And then if they decide to move on, fine, but then we'll be a better attraction for the next business that wants to come in there. I didn't have pictures of Rusted Soul Studio. I have tried to get in touch with them and I didn't get pictures. So, but
what is that?
He's a tattoo place, but he's also an art studio as well. And he actually got really involved with opening this place and has redesigned the inside of it and built walls for privacy and put paintings on the wall. It's really interesting. I invite you guys to come over and look at what we have there anytime. So that's what I'm asking if you could help us. I do have $4,000 I can use towards the air conditioning. So if you could help, with $12,000, then we can make sure everybody gets a little bit of air and not just me. Because I hated to leave them out. I feel like I started this project to make it this one entity that's going to be a business generator. I hate to not have the air on their sides as well.
Understood.
And of course, this is through the building commission, but you know, the Heritage Center in Millisle Arts is going to be there because of this previous agreement with Mundre's family, you know, to always maintain it in that center.
So the building commission actually owns the building?
They were the ones that had to take the ownership
Yes,
so we
okay.
could get started with this, yes.
It's not our commission.
Right, the cities.
City's building commission, yeah. I actually learned how to do a gutter. My husband and I did the gutters on the back, so it was really interesting. But we're so proud of it. Oh, it was.
Yeah. I'd like to take this and consider it. I know the building semi-well. I'd like to take it and consider it. But I mean, I don't think it's a ridiculous ask at all. I mean, you got everything else done, new roof and everything, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, 'cause I saw
And I'm also
the
adding an
trusses, I wasn't
awning.
sure about the roof.
I'm adding an awning in the middle, which kind of differentiates between the others since it's Heritage Center. So I'm going to add an awning. I just haven't had a chance to order one. Just had the triathlon last week. I haven't had
Yeah.
a spare one,
Yeah.
so.
I bet.
I did a triathlon, Jeff.
It went really well. We had 71 entries. I thought it was 75, but, and everything went pretty well. There were a few glitches here and there, and we did have one accident. And I've been checking with this woman. She actually wrecked coming down Kennison, a mile from the transition, the last leg. She has a fractured skull, broken nose, broken eye socket, broken collarbone, rib, and
Over the handlebars.
she went over the handlebars.
My land's over
And
the
a punctured
cliff.
lungs. But she's smiling in the
Poor
picture. It was
lady.
awful. It was huge. It was a woman.
Yeah.
She had a huge gash in her head. And there's one of the state troopers, Lustig,
Mhm.
Eric Lustig. He camped on her. He got her and wrapped her head, and because the ambulance was back behind the last runner. So
Yeah.
we're going to change that for next year because we need to have roving.
Have a couple.
Yeah, we need to find someone that has like an ATV and is also a paramedic. You know, so.
Wilderness Fire Department might be able to help you.
Okay.
Because they have the side-by-side that is set up
Yeah.
to carry.
And that's what you'd almost need, because you can't rely on, you don't know where you're gonna be. And another thing is that area, and I don't know how we go about doing this, but that area from basically Summit Lake up to probably beyond the nature center doesn't have radio signal. So I'm
Right.
thinking, you know, the police can contact it. They can't contact each other. So what does it take to get to do that, to fix that? Is
The
that-
radio, oh, it's not
I mean,
loud.
It's the Green Makers.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
you're kidding.
No, yeah, that's, yeah.
Well, how do the
You'd have to have
the
satellite
radio
phones.
group that they use the ham radio, so
We're very close. They can't, there's.
They can't
use any
transmit
kind of
over mountains
repeaters
probably or
anything like
anything.
that.
yeah.
It's probably gotta be right there.
Within a couple miles.
So we probably
You just
could
put
get- we
more
had
people with smaller
29 we had
repeaters.
29 people throughout the route, but you have 15 miles on the highway, and she just happened to pick the wrong
Yeah.
mile, I guess. So, you
I'd say
know.
satellite phones would be your only option. If you had anybody, they're expensive, but
They're
if you had
expensive.
somebody that had them or something like that, I don't know.
Yeah, that would make a difference, but I don't know.
You might talk to Chief Coleman, he might have some, I doubt it, but he might.
And he's the chief of the state police.
Richwood Fire.
Tommy.
Fire
Oh,
Department.
God, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
That's
yeah.
right.
But see, they
So-
cover part of the
I
national
never thought
forest,
about
so they
that.
might be prepared for
That
something
one,
like
okay, I'll
that.
put that down. It's one of
Yeah.
my many things. We have like 20 things we're going to
Yeah.
discuss for a committee
Now,
for next year.
Can I ask what type of awning you're planning to purchase?
A retractable awning, so we can,
Retractable,
yeah.
okay.
And then that way, you know, because we get sunlight from the time it comes up until the evening, and it just shines into that awning and make it a little bit cooler, and you won't have to run the air as much. The heating system, you know, is working, but we needed to replace it because it's probably been there since State Farm was there in 1970 or whatever that was, you know, so.
Wow. Do you know who's doing your awning yet?
I had
We
a
have couple we
company,
need.
you,
If you wouldn't mind the email, or we need to come
oh, you need one?
Yeah, we need them here.
Well, it was
Visit
somebody that
facilities.
Guy Foster knows, and she's actually lives in California but has businesses in Ohio, and
Okay.
so I was gonna try to, other things on my list to do, so
Well, yeah.
I'll see what I can do, and I'll share that with you.
But no, yeah, I'd like to take you and digest them, but I mean, you know, I appreciate you coming in and I can see it. I mean, unless you all have any other thoughts. Revisit next week, week after next.
That's fine.
We can talk about it.
Yeah, what options we do have, whatever.
Okay, that'd be great,
Right.
because I've written
Because
7
CARES
grants
is our
this year
super
since
fund right
January,
now,
so-
but it's probably
I
hard to
can
get
keep it.
CARES on this.
I
you
know,
what
I
mean?
know.
So we might get creative.
Yeah, there's bound to be a creative way to
And
do something.
certainly,
there.
it has made the area look much more attractive.
Oh, yeah,
Really,
everything
That's
else.
what you've done, has really helped make that area
Oh, thank you.
town
Thank
more
you.
attractive.
And it's, everybody that has come in has really appreciated it, and, you know, seeing what we've done with, we're, with our lumber exhibit right now. I went to the lumber mills. Like, I went to the lumber mills and I took pictures and video. 'Cause, you know that the trees out there, they cut it down and they make paper. Like, what happens in between? So, you know, I went to the one and I had shows that how they strip the bark and all the processing there. Well, I went to Columbia, and this is really interesting. After they've stripped the bark, they have these logs lying in this thing, this machine, and they're rolling, and they catch, and as they roll, it's like a giant apple peel, and they peel off, they're peeling off the bark, and then they cut it into sections. Because I was wondering how they make plywood sheeting.
Right.
Columbia donated the plywood sheeting, Collins donated the wood. You know, so a lot of people have invested money in this. But it was just so fascinating to see these sheets, and then
It
they
really
glue those
is.
sheets together, and then they have plywood.
Yep.
You know, and most people don't know that. And of course, they start all over again with the seed. You know, and so that was that's our exhibit that will be up in July 31st. So if you're around the 31st, anytime after the 31st, you'll see that exhibit with all the saws and everything. So we're proud of that one.
Yeah. That's good.
You all have any other questions on this one?
Thank you, Mary.
Okay,
yeah.
you're welcome.
Thank you for the straight.
Thank you.
And if it's okay, we'll go ahead and go to the next
Excellent.
one. Yeah, Mary Jane again. And also,
And here, and but Marcia's here.
Yeah, Marcia
Yes.
Hannah, on behalf of the Richwood Community Center Board located in the former Richwood Armory, requesting money to update the heating and air conditioning system as part of the renovation process for the building. So,
Yes, and I went ahead.
Heating and air
and-
conditioning.
It's always heating and air. This year, I swear, this year's been the hottest and muggiest, you know, of any, so.
yeah. Thank you.
But. Can I start?
Yes.
Okay, that's one thing. Okay, so I gave you the information and I gave you the budget with the items for the match and the contributor as well. Oh, I'm sorry, I copied it from back on my, maybe you have it on one page, the budget?
Yeah.
Okay, I did. Okay. As a result of the flood of 2016, we lost access to the school cafeterias and gyms and were limited to one older gymnasium to be shared by children of all ages for all levels of sports. We also lost venues for our many community events such as the Ramp Festival, the Past 80 Party, the Lions Club pancake dinners, chamber banquets, class reunions, and many other events. Most importantly, we lost the senior center and the opportunity for the seniors to socialize.
So there was a group of us that got together to form a board to convert the Richwood Armory into a new Richwood Community Center. We need a home, especially for that Ramp Festival every year that I know your parents were very involved in. And the board is comprised of people who represent the city of Richwood, including the Nicholas County Empowerment Zone. They actually got this ball rolling. The Past 80 group, the senior citizens, the Cherry River Foundation, and other interested citizens.
And I'd like to add the Past 80 was not able to be held this year because we had no location to do that. And that's a real big
Yes.
plus, you know, big impetus for us to try to get something going. One of our groups, the Nicholas Empowerment Zone, of course, raised the money for the gymnasium. You've seen that probably on Facebook, with the backboards and everything. And they were able to have Little League in basketball season in there. And this not only benefited the children in our community, but all the outlying areas of Fenwick, Fenwick Mountain, Hinkle Mountain, Craigsville, Nettie, and Levacy. And to some degree, many of our activities we're talking about are going to benefit everybody in Fenwick
Yes.
County. People
Yes.
from Summersville get involved in all the sports
And
activities.
actually, it was a lot of Craigsville parents who got the ball rolling on the gymnasium part. Yes.
And the city of Birchwood upgraded the water, the sewage, the electric, and they maintain the lawn and take care of those needs down there.
But we discussed the need to renovate the building into an active Richwood Community Center, and we would be calling it Richwood Community Center. And it's greatly needed to provide a location for the many activities that are hosted each year in Richwood. Our goal is to reopen the senior center lost in the 2016 flood and provide activities that will enable the youth and the elderly to mutually benefit from all activities. Through this center, the seniors will have access to meals, activities, a place to exercise, a place to socialize. Because at this point, they're getting meals delivered and but no place to gather.
As a board member, I submitted 2 grants to acquire money to renovate the building. We were fortunate to receive a grant in the amount of $65,000 to repair the roof, replace the front entranceway with a more energy efficient front entrance, and then add a fire suppression system in the kitchen. And provided a new bay door for unloading equipment and supplies. And I did not put in there, we also got enough equipment to fill the kitchen so that we already have refrigerators and stoves and those kinds of things. As you can see on the items match, that's why I did it that way. The match, we have kitchen cupboards, new water heater, new water lines, and all these matches, refrigerators, stove, basket, all those things. In addition to that, we're counting in, of course, the use of the facility, the salary for the drivers and the cook and all that. The tables, the 50 chairs, these are all provided by the Nicholas County Community Action people. And then all of this totaled $173,000 as a match. And so we were asking, and what I gave you here is the actual budget for the grant, and they funded $65,000. But let me go back to my little notes here that I also conferred with Tim Thomas of MTA. And he said, if I can get him some money, he can help us maybe to put a route there. And this route would enable people to come from all of these outlying areas into Ridgewood, and vice versa. So with this attached budget, you can see that it's an $80,000 difference, and so
Yes.
that's the amount that was not funded by the grant. This is a big grant, but I can't tell you anything about where it's coming from because it's not going to be announced until the 21st. But, so it is going to be announced on the 21st. And we wanted to, they said we can fund 65, and we said we fund it. Because we really felt we're hoping that you can help us with that, as well as, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of people donating, but it's going to be a big task, and when it's done, it's going to make a major difference.
We'll still work for other monies, but we were asking for the heating and whatever you can give for the heating and the cooling.
So that 65,000 would go towards the 142?
Right, so the 65,000 is going to take care of everything except the heating and
Oh, yeah.
heating and air. We're actually getting the bay door replaced. It's a big bay door that was, just damaged, I guess, from the flood. And then, also it.
And
it just
eventually
raised
we
and
want to
lowered.
put a new floor down for the gym
Right.
part, but
That's going to be down the line.
that'll be down the road, yeah.
We think we
Kind of a
just.
luxury kind of
Yeah,
thing, right?
the heating is definitely a
Regroup.
must, and the air, you're going to have a lot of different people,
Especially
especially elderly
older
people.
people,
You need
yeah.
the heating, but you also need the air because it gets too suffocating in there, so. And then, of course, there's a lot of classrooms there that eventually we'll be able to fix up. We have a lot of community groups that do come through there and
Yeah, and they
will
stay
help
there, yes.
repair the building as well. We have to complete everything by October 31st. But we don't have to complete the heating and air. That's
Yeah.
the good
Yeah.
thing, so I wanted to add that. We can,
For
we're
the grant
confident we can
money,
get
we
that done
have to
with the
get it done
grant.
by the 31st.
But we have plenty of time to get the heating and air in.
Have you had any prices, or you just do a budget?
This was, the 80,000 was the estimate that I was given. I mean, they didn't break it down, but I could ask them to do
Because
that if you like.
it includes duct work and
Yes.
drop ceilings.
Drop ceiling,
all
their
that.
ductwork is needed all over that building, and of course, the gymnasium doesn't have anything at all in there. They have heating, but they don't have the,
I don't think so.
so.
Did you ask, I see there's a lot of line items in here for community action.
Yes.
Since they don't have to replace the building, do they have extra money like that that they can throw in on the heating there?
They possibly will. I did talk to her, but I haven't told her recently that we got it because I can't tell anybody about the grant
Here.
until the 21st.
Here on that board, you think you could ask them if they
Sure.
have some?
Yeah, well,
I'm pretty sure that they will. I mean,
They
because I
got
talked
the
to them.
insurance set.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so what we need to figure out is how much they got.
Right, and they haven't been able to say that until, without us not knowing that if we got the grant or not. Maybe I should go ahead and give her a call and tell her we had gotten it, but I've just been so paranoid about anybody saying, did you hear?
Because they said if it's,
If it gets
if it's
noticed,
on social media or something, we could lose the
they'll,
grant,
yeah,
so
because they
we
pull
don't
the
want to
grant.
say.
I just, but I tell you this much, I was really pleased. My husband pointed this out. We did a Zoom meeting with this group, and there were people from Miami, Chicago, Seattle, also
Applied.
that applied and got these grants. So we are Little Richwood mixed in with all these big cities, getting this grant. I think it's a real big plus for us, because it will be, and it'll come out, like I said, I know they said that they'll announce it Monday, and then Tuesday, you can say, guess what, we got this grant from.
Yeah, you'll see it, I'm sure.
I almost wonder too, if this is something we need to go to delegates, Hannah, Dolly, and say, hey, we lost infrastructure, here's some new infrastructure.
Right.
Well, there's 680,000.
I think we should look at this from the standpoint of, we'll help try to find the money, what we can find,
Well,
That'd be great.
Trying, yeah, right.
but
No guarantees, but.
it looks
Right.
like
Yeah, but I mean, I'm speculating.
we've got a few things we've got some other answers we gotta get first.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Well, this won't fall under ARP, I'll tell you that right
yeah,
now.
we're in too many restrictions.
Yeah.
Did you say ARP?
American Rescue Plan.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
different.
If it's
I
not-
thought you
Yeah.
said AARP. 'Cause
Oh,
I
no,
applied-
yeah, right.
I applied to AARP
Well,
and
yeah.
they didn't give us any money. And I was like, I couldn't believe this is AARP, design. And and then, so when this group called me, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But this is, I've known for about 3 weeks about this, but I'm still required not to say anything because, how hard that is.
It's when it's exciting news, yeah.
And part of this building, the armory, you're using that for the kids' stuff too, right?
Oh, yes, I mean,
Basketball
so
games.
that's the thing, and that's kind of the beauty of this building is that, the senior citizens will be able to come in and have their meals and socialize, and then other activities will go on and use that same kitchen, because it'll be a certified kitchen. I got distracted with my notes, but we'll have we'll have steel tables to add to all the other things, and all the fire suppression will make it a certified kitchen. So that'll enable those other activities that involve students and their children in there. And,
Also
the sports, the ramp feed,
feed.
right, the sports leagues that goes on there.
Yeah,
We'll
that,
have, we have
the-
classrooms where you can do activities and involve the kids. But
And
it
the
also
mini basketball's
involves
only in like January,
right.
February, whatever.
But all those, anything we do down there is going to, like if we do any kind of an event, it's going to be a mix of senior citizens and kids.
Yeah.
You
So
can have
that's one of
summer
the
leagues
things
and all
that-
kinds of stuff.
Yes,
Right,
good,
right.
good.
Expand all that.
Right, and it's going to grow. The, I'm sorry.
Well, hey, you're working
It's a couple
overtime on
months.
these too,
Yeah.
so that's
I
understandable.
think it's really.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that, when I talked to Angela, we were talking about that, and it does. I mean, now the seniors can, if they want to go walking, at winters, they can go down to the armory and walk in the gym.
Yes, and
then
it's flat,
eventually,
and it's easy there's parking already
Right.
there.
and handicap entrance, because it's flat, you don't have to worry about,
Yeah.
steps and all that. And then also, we're hoping to put in a gym down there. And I think all these things will unfold, because there's a lot of people, somebody recently said anyone going to open a gym, put the gym down in the armory, then people have access to it. And then, and that could be something that comes out of a future donation from somebody else, who knows? I mean, there's so many, everybody looks at that building and says, if only we did this, this, and this. And I think we can do that now that we have this grant and any other money that we can get to continue it. So, I don't know. I think it has a lot of enormous potential. We do movies down there too. Currently, we do movies in the summer, but you can do that in the winter time. And that involves people of all ages, so, especially the children, so.
Now, this would only be in the 1,000-year floodplain, not like the 100 or anything like that, right? The building itself.
What'd you say, in the 1,000?
Your floodplain.
Oh,
It never flooded. I don't know.
Oh, okay, I was
Yeah.
sure from flood.
No, it never
It
flooded.
did not flood?
Mhm.
Okay, okay.
No, we stored materials down.
That's where all the materials-
Headquarters was.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
there you
all the
go.
building,
That's
which,
actually true.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
now your HVAC that you're looking at, is it quoted like as a ceiling unit goes down, or is it a ground unit? Did they clarify?
They didn't specify. Would you like me to get that information? Or,
Well, you'll
That's just-
probably-
that would just be
you'll
my
probably have to get
recommendation
3 or
to you.
4 estimates
Right,
on
right.
that now.
Yeah.
I think that's why I didn't get the
Right.
specifics,
Right.
It's this much, Come back
Or a
to
building
me
that
later and I'll give you the
size.
details.
Well,
Ultimately, it's
that
gonna
would
come
be-
down
yeah.
to that, okay?
The what?
Ultimately, it's gonna come down to having one estimate.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So is
But,
that what we need to do? Is that the next step we need to do for you guys?
One of the things.
Well, yeah, we need to see numbers because it's changing so much out there in the commercial industry.
Yeah.
Your $80,000 might be 120 right now.
I know.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
HVAC's, yeah, it's
And
pretty hard up right now.
Something else, when we start the 911 project, maybe we get some estimates for how they oversee 2 jobs.
should be
know.
good.
Okay.
Because you won't have anything else on the,
Just try other avenues too, you know.
but there is,
just-
Oh,
right?
we are.
It's all in that.
That's, yeah, that's everything on that paper I
I
gave you,
want to
so.
look at that sooner or later.
And if you have any questions on that, feel free to call me. You all have my phone number, so. I know I bothered you there.
No, no, that's fine. Okay, well, we'll take a break. Appreciate you all coming.
All right, okay.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Okay, we're here now at my request with the discussion of the acting prosecuting attorney, Mr. Williams. But Commissioner Chapman had some information gathered. If you'd like to go ahead and start the discussion.
When we offered you the job and challenged you basically about the jail bill, I just wanted to be the first to comment. You're doing a good job.
Well, thank you.
We're down $30,000. When you came in, the jail bill was around $85,000. Now it's down to 56, 57. And I want to commend you and Bo for what you do to go over it and find the credits.
Really?
Yeah, and so for your guys' part, we just want to say thank you. You saved the county a lot of money. We ask you to keep it up. We would like, as a group, to maybe do a monthly meeting with maybe you guys, and the sheriff, and maybe the judge, maybe the magistrates, and all put our heads together on the jail bill. Do you think that'd be a possibility?
I don't see why it wouldn't be a possibility. As I was trying to describe to you guys when we first started talking about it, I have some role to play, that's for sure. But a lot of times, the magistrates have to make decisions as to who's violated the terms of home confinement or some bond condition, and the circuit court judge does the same. I don't want to speak for the circuit court judge, but I know that if you fail a drug screen, you're going to stay in jail. And I don't tell you this, I support that, because if you failed a drug screen for an illegal drug, you've involved yourself in an illegal drug trade. That's how you got that. So you're just furthering an illegal activity. Now, I tried to remind you though that there was a time in the past, other judges would give you multiple times to get out of jail. And the citizens don't like that. They really just don't. So I appreciate you saying that to me. I just want you to know I'll continue to work on it.
That's most definitely the majority opinion here because
Sure is.
It seems like you're taking an interest, no one else does.
it's more than just money. I mean, it's just the principle of the matter. You are really doing a good job. The sheriff's department helping you all probation. I mean, I think it's just everybody's working together very well right now.
Well,
The citizens deserve to know that because they need to know we're all doing our job here.
That does all of the, I call it just the more dirty work of the numbers and trying to make sure they're crediting or taking into account who's there on what charge, who has custody.
Yeah, I will say this, that we do look through all those things that we get every month. One month, I was several times, I said, where's that at? I didn't remember seeing it. Okay.
It's one of those necessary evils you don't want to see.
You're gonna look at it. Okay.
Is there anything from our standpoint that you need from us that, how's things going over there?
No, things are fine. I mean, of course, it'd always be nice to have a third person, but at this point, I'm just going to decide to keep on doing what I'm doing, and hopefully January or February Johnson comes back and we're back to 3. So it'd just be too hard to find somebody to step in for 3 or 4 months. I'm doing all right. We'll be all right.
Well, the numbers show it.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
We're sorry you had a big accident.
He tries to run the jail bill up. I'll just tell you that. So.
I've noticed.
Like that.
We need to put an executive session and talk.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Very good.
All right. Thank you.
Go ahead and take another break. We're here now at our public comment period, and for the record, no one has signed up for public comment period. Is there any business or any other concerns the commissioner would like to address at this time? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn this regular scheduled meeting of the Nicholas County Commission on Wednesday, July 14th of the year 2021?
I'll make that motion.
Motion's on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, the motion does carry. We stand adjourned.